I'm Julianne Haines. I'm the Chief Exec of Principality Building Society. We've been around for 163 years. We were founded by people of Cardiff who were looking to build homes at a time when Cardiff had a real shortage of homes. And our purpose and mission remains the same. It's to make sure that people have a place to call home and that we create a society of savers. And I absolutely love the job of working in our communities with our customers and our members to make sure that we deliver that purpose every day. So I've had a really varied career. I've worked in a number of different sectors, but the majority of my time has been in financial services. But I started my career in retail and in consumer goods. And I guess through those roles, both in sales and marketing and strategy, learned a lot about what it really takes to compete and a real focus on customer. So I've worked in financial services now, both for a big bank and now for Principality Building Society for 20 years. And yeah, every opportunity that I've taken to learn and to broaden my skills is really what I've done. So I've taken a few risks, moving into a tech role, having been in sales and marketing was quite a stretch for me. But what I wanted to demonstrate that whatever problem you throw at me, I'll be able to really give it a good job and I'll bring really great people together to try and solve problems. So yeah, I've absolutely loved all the roles that I've done. Some have been extremely challenging when you're feeling a bit out of your depth, but I think that's where you get the growth. From our perspective, we're looking for diverse teams that bring together lots of experience. So we're working in value streams where we have a common purpose or mission for those tech teams to work on behalf of our customers or our colleagues. And that's comprising primarily, we have an open architecture, so we've got some low-code developers, then we've got sort of MuleSoft middleware developers, and then our sort of core infrastructure teams as well. So they work together with business analysts and UI UX experts to really think about what are we trying to do, what's the purpose that the customer is looking for this problem or this solution, and then how do we all sort of come together to try and work in an agile, a sprint, fast-paced way as they can. I think one of the challenges of being 163 years old is that unlike some of the new organisations that are in the Welsh FinTech ecosystem, we've got a lot of legacy. So inevitably it means that at times the teams are a bit slowed down and they're really having to work through some of that legacy tech. But our board are really keen to continue to invest to really bring that infrastructure up to date so that we can work at more pace and more agility. So lots to do, but yeah, looking for people who really understand what's important to customers, want to get as close to the customer as possible and just design products and services that meet their needs. I think it's really important that all organisations get committed to really broadening underrepresentation and making sure that underrepresented groups get heard. Ultimately, we'll build better product if that's the case. So we do a number of things at Principality to help with that. We do a lot of work internally. We have a very strong group of networks that have been set up by colleagues for colleagues, and that helps people understand to share best practice, share learnings. We also then engage with a number of organisations externally as well. So for instance, with FinTech Wales, we've taken part in digital boot camps for younger girls. We've then supported that in terms of opportunities. We've created employment on the back of some of these things as well. So really trying to make linkages, working with colleges and universities as well. So it's a great way for us to bring in talent and also broaden our understanding of what it is that underrepresented groups need. There's massive underrepresentation in tech and data, so the more that any organisation can do, the better. So we've got a lot of work to do at Principality. So I'm really trying to push our teams to think really creatively about where we can learn and how we can listen to what others are doing and put that into practice. I think I've always tried to play the long game. So, sometimes that means you kind of need to sort of step back and let, in those sort of more male-dominated conversations, let others sort of feel like they've got their opportunity. But for me, if you play the long game, generally speaking, I think you get to a better outcome. You build relationships. Your focus on delivering against the outcomes, and for me that's kind of the approach I've always taken. I mean, a good example of that, I could have applied to be Chief Exec of Principality the last time that the board were recruiting, but I just decided it wasn't quite the right time for me, and I could see there was a brilliant candidate as well. So play the long game, be a fantastic number two to that person. And actually then when they were ready to leave, then I had learned an awful lot by being their partner. And that's enabled me to step up and hopefully have a fast start. So yeah, just for me, that would be don't worry about winning all the sort of individual arguments. Just try and think about building relationships, focusing on a win-win really. And generally speaking, I think that's important. And stand up for who you are. So, focus on your strengths, make sure that you think about what it is that you bring, what your secret sauce is, and then how you best deploy that, and try not to get too worried about the fact that others bring other things. Great teams win rather than individuals. And there's so much change going on, and it's at times it can feel a little bit overwhelming, can't it? Because you're almost, everybody's got limited resources. Where do you focus? So our view is we've got to learn as quickly as we can from some of the really big organisations that are doing this. It would be really challenging for us at our size and scale to compete against, Apple have just come into financial services in the UK. So knowing where you want to compete and differentiate and where you don't, and then hopefully trying to be a follower, but learn off others is important. AI would be the obvious area where I see the most, adoption across the financial services sector over the next sort of 3 to 5 years. But all of the research that I'm hearing from is saying very few people are really creating real value for customers or their bottom line. So again, rather than rush in, let's just understand, be as lean and effective as we can with our data and our processes, and then leverage AI for value creation rather than just sort of automating waste is kind of the approach we're taking. Blockchain, see a lot of focus on that in terms of the home moving purchase and in terms of movement of cash around the UK. So I think that will be an area that you'll start to see some of the real big government organisations who have big parts of that value chain doing a lot of work in it. But again, it feels a bit distant and remote from where we are today. So keep close to things, understand where the learning and the opportunities are, but don't get too distracted. Focus on your core strategy and identify where these things can add value, and just partner and learn as much as you can. So delighted that Wales is being represented through my position as Chief Exec of Principality Building Society. What we're aiming to do is really bring the Welsh story to make sure that UK government are thinking about that, and also being clear on, are there any changes in tax policies or investment areas that the government should be making to really help support a thriving Welsh economy, and particularly around the sort of technology space. So looking at R&D tax credits was an area that we discussed in the last meeting. We'll be focusing on skills and just saying what more can government do to really promote thriving areas of economic prosperity. So yeah, I'll make sure that sort of the ecosystem's voice is heard as much as possible. It's always a balance, and sometimes that balance gets out of kilter, right? So, for me, just knowing what your non-negotiable areas are. So I've always wanted to be home as much as possible to have dinner with my family. That felt like a real non-negotiable. So if that means that I need to be in the office earlier or going to the gym earlier, or if it means I need to do a little bit of work in the evenings, trying to protect that time where we come together as a family, we sort of talk about the day, and any issues from the kids you can kind of be there to support is really important. So yeah, know your non-negotiables, try and get really good balance, sleep, food, exercise, and just time for yourself. It's really, really hard. I get it wrong probably more than I get it right. But overall, I guess it's about if you love what you do, that makes it much easier, and for me, being a role that you really love.